agenda
talk.
item on the agenda.
I'm going to call them anyhow.
Okay.
Well, if they're going to tell us the same thing, because all emails are the same. So I'm just going to tell you, you can talk, but if you're,
Yeah. Just,
okay, I'll keep the names.
yeah, those are all related to number 9.
Right.
And this one is different.
Congratulations, Mr. Howard. Make sure you did that.
Sorry we're late, everyone. Call this meeting to order. It's the regular city council meeting of November 13th, 2018. I will wait until everybody's seated. First item on the agenda is the open forum. Kathleen Balaban, I believe. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. Would you like to come up and speak, ma'am? I think you've signed in before, so please sign in and give us your name and your address, and then you have approximately 3 minutes. I'm not real rigid on that, but we've got a busy agenda, so try to keep it short.
Well, I wrote more than I have about, so I have it in writing as well. My name is Kathleen Balaban, and I live at 6526 Stevens Avenue. First, I would like to congratulate Council members Gonzalez and Howard for your successful campaigns in the recent elections. And as a constituent, I'm looking forward to your leadership during the changes for our city and state going into the future. So again, congratulations. As you may remember, I went online a few months ago and sent each of you an email regarding what I had found when I read the commission's minutes. Every commission, everything that was listed out online, I read. And what I was looking for is how the city was run. Making this quick, because I only have 3 minutes, I'm going to skip to a few things. With all due respect, what I found in the minutes, watching the videos for the council and the planning commissions, what I found is what I would refer to and is known as negative response management or management by negative response. These two things say the same, but they mean two different things. Management by negative response is calculated in advance. It occurs repeatedly and consistently in the minutes and in our videos. This style would include calculated actions rather than reactions to actions. I could go on and on with it, but with all due respect, what I'm trying to say here is I'm urging the City Council, as well as the Planning Commission, to really look at how we are communicated with and for. In other words, an example of management by negative response is demonstrated by a high-level staffer during the Planning Commission meeting on October 22nd. It had to do with zoning and changes, but what I'm saying, it's not about people, it's about style. We have been run by management by negative response for what I would refer to as decades. It's part of the current city manager's style. I don't know the individual. I respect him for what he has done for our city up to this point, but decades of management by negative response gets you stuff like we just experienced in the other room, where people are wondering what was happening when it's already been kind of decided, but not totally. And pattern develops out of need, and the need is we have commissions that meet monthly, and then we have to go to them first, and then we have to take it to the planning session, and then we have to get it to the city council. So negative response management is kind of a fallout of getting the job done. We have very good individuals within our staff. We have highly trained, highly knowledgeable, very skilled individuals, but what we have is negative response management. We do things and then we get negative response. That just continues to perpetuate itself. And I believe that over the years during this style, we have given, maybe consciously or unconsciously, a little bit more authority to staffers than what some of us citizens would prefer. In other words, staffers are making decisions on my behalf without what I would refer to as citizen input. I'm not talking about housing. I'm talking about solar panels and cell towers and small cell deployment and things that affect my health and my life, things in our parks that are happening without our consent. So I'm asking the city council seriously to look at changing the infrastructure that the city operates under currently. I'm looking for a new city. We are at a cusp in our city right now. We have a major majority change in our council. 3 of our members are changing positions and or leaving. We have a city manager that is leaving. We have a great opportunity here to change the infrastructure to some extent, to allow for citizen input, a little bit more than what we're getting. A comp plan is going into production. It's going up before you. We don't have an option to speak to it because we didn't hear about it. You know, City of Minneapolis, they told their residents way in advance. We get something in the Sun Current on the 18th. Planning session is held on the 22nd. That gave us 2 business days.
Ms. Balaban, you're going to have to wrap up, please.
So again, I'm asking that we look at inclusion as we go forward and to change the current regime from authoritarian to a little bit more democratic, and I think.
Thank you. We received 7 or 8 open forum registration cards related to the proposed platting of 6933 Oliver. Normally, when it's on the agenda, we don't allow open forum, but in consultation with the rest of the council, when we get to that item on the agenda, you'll be invited up and have the same type of restrictions we have for the open forum. So try don't to repeat yourselves, but when you can come up, I'll call you up and you'll have 3 or 4 minutes to voice your objections or affirmation of the proposed platting at 6933. So just be patient. When we get to that item on the agenda, you'll have your opportunity to speak. With that being said, it's time for you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I would move the approval of the minutes of the regular City Council meeting of October 23rd, 2018, and the special City Council work session of October 30th, 2018.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are passed. At this time of the year, we have annual meetings with various commissions that are appointed. They're volunteers, and they serve the citizens of Richfield by working on various things, parks and recreation, arts, things like that. The first commission that's up this evening is the Community Services Commission.
Hi there.
Good
I'm Lisa
evening.
Rudolph, current chair of the Community Services Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight about what we've done over the last year. It's been a lot, so I'll dive right in. I'll start with, we recommended council approval of a sustainable purchasing policy to be adopted by city staff and heard the annual Minnesota Green Step Cities Performance Management Report, program of the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. We reviewed the city's surface water management plan, which aims to efficiently protect and preserve our groundwater. We advised staff on the organic waste drop-off program, partnership with Hennepin County, beginning later this week. We'll hear more about that in a few minutes. We recommended council approval of T21 tobacco ordinance amendments as they pertain to our parks, changing the legal age of tobacco purchase to 21 in Richfield. We discussed a proposal by Metro Transit for the construction of a D-line rapid bus station plan and suggested options to maximize safety and minimize impact on the adjoining Roosevelt Park. We appointed new and returning members to the Friends of Wood Lake Board, or the FOWL Board. Majority of our work, however, focused on our parks. We reviewed suggested revisions and recommended council approval of an updated Richfield Parks Master Plan. We prioritized proposed capital projects and recommended council approval of the 2019 to 23 Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Capital Improvement Plan. Discussed options for improvements to both Nicollet Park and Washington Park, the latter made possible by the 77th Street Underpass project. We discussed a proposal to replace playground equipment at 3 of our parks, including a plan to construct 1 fully accessible lot, and appointed members to a task force to help determine criteria, lead neighborhood meetings, and select a proposal for the work. We also initiated discussions regarding the proposed dog park facility and appointed members to a dog park task force. Reviewed a proposal for a lease of land in Lincoln Fields for the placement of a cell antenna tower, and made policy recommendations for future proposals. We approved a park dedication facility proposal for new benches for Monroe Park to honor a graduate of Richfield High School and received regular updates on its progress. The benches were recently installed. The CSC also annually appoints liaisons to and receives regular reports from the following groups: the Planning Commission, the Arts Commission, Friendship City Commission, the Friends of Wood Lake Board, Transportation Committee, the Honoring All Veterans Memorial, the Organics Task Force, and of course, nearest and dearest to me personally, this year the Commission received regular reports from staff and the new Richfield Curling Club regarding the introduction of curling at Richfield Ice Arena. In the coming year, we will prioritize capital improvement items as we do annually, complete the process of selecting a vendor to replace play equipment at Taft, Jefferson, and Nicollet Parks, continue the process of planning for site improvements at Nicollet and Washington Parks, continue the process of planning for the construction of our first dog park facilities, and other topics and opportunities as they present. So that's sort of our year in a nutshell. Any
Thank
questions?
you. It's a pretty large nut.
Yeah.
I think when we do interviews for appointments to commissions and everything, when we talk about the various commissions, they all work hard and they all do a great job for the city. But we tell most people that the community services touches all 4 corners of the community, and
Right.
I think you just amplified that by telling us what you've done and what goes on last year and what you're looking forward to next year. So I really appreciate the service and the good work you do.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Next commission will be the Arts Commission, which is going to be busy this upcoming year also.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor and Council. I'm Joyce Marie, and I'm going to present the annual meeting 2018. The purpose to raise awareness of, I was just trying to see if it was up there, to raise awareness of, promote the value of, advocate for, and support the arts in Richfield. Our members are co-chair, myself, Joyce Marie, Mia Simpson, Secretary Larry Nelson, member are Chelsea, get it? Oh, thank you. Members are Chelsea Karnoff, Thomas Eder, Karen Wovington, and we added a youth member, which is very exciting. It's key to have youth with our program here in the Arts Council. Deborah Cooper, Community Service Liaison Lisa Rudolph, and Staff Liaison Mary Kay Champa. And of course, we have 3 vacancies that are open, 2 adults, you're aware of that, and 1 youth. Now, initiatives were the teen art event where we were at the Augsburg Park Library in March, and there was a contest for some of the artwork where the teens did watercoloring and also ceramics and so forth. But it was amazing to see the great artwork that they did, and we presented in an award at that time. Now, the Sun Current Photo Contest was in August, Farmers Market October, Little Library is still ongoing. We're moving that to the band shell. And we also display lots of art in the community center and municipal center. It's ongoing. So take some time and just look in Richfield. There's a lot of art going on. So you might want to ponder a little bit in that. So the next one is, okay, we had the Cross Commission Collaboration, PennFest, where we had a table and we had face painting where the children were dressed up with their face painting and so forth. We also collaborated with Crossroads Panorama, Poetry Time, and also impromptu where people walked by, children walked by, and they was able to present their little talent on impromptu. So we also participated in the 4th of July parade. Richfield Arts Center, we have hosted art classes and art commission events in spring and summer. We moved the little library to, like I said, to the band shell or the brand space. The Art Center bike sculpture will remain at its current location. The Richfield vision for 2019 is, our theme is families flourishing. We're hoping that everybody can get involved, the families and children and youth. We want to bring them together. And so that's good. We're excited about next year and what we're doing. And so then we have we're going to continue collaborating to build up Richfield. You know, it's Richfield. You know, we're in the Richfield. And so resource group for local artists, local art events, maintain existing initiatives on 66th Street project. We got a project going on we're looking ahead to 2019, poetry in the sidewalk. We're placing 20 panels in the sidewalk. Next year we'll be working on this in December, and it'll roll out in spring. And we have a mural that's coming up on the 66th Street near 35W, that bridge there. So wonderful art that's going to go up. And so thank you very much for this time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Councilmember Reagan Gonzalez / Mayor-elect Reagan Gonzalez will introduce the next presentation.
Thank you. Before I move to the next presentation, I just want to say thank you to both the Community Services Commission and the Arts Commission, and thank you for coming and presenting. The work that you guys do is so foundational in helping build community here in Richfield and helping people feel included and proud of where they live, helping them feel like they are excited to go out and be in their community, having parks and spaces that are intergenerational. We have a pickleball courts and opportunities in Washington Park, curling, so many opportunities in the arts and in green space and recreation that bring people together across difference, across generation, across cultures and community. And these two commissions that presented tonight are foundational in making that happen. So thank you so much for your work. And I will pass it on to Jim Topitzhofer to introduce our next presentation about organics drop site collection. We'll be having a kickoff in a couple days and learning a little bit more about how, as a community, we can come together and households to reduce our carbon footprint and continue to maintain efforts to green our city. I'll pass it over, Jim.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'm Karen Schrag. I'm the manager of Wood Lake Nature Center, and organics is coming to Richfield.
Right.
Yay! And I'm not saying this because Commissioner Gotel is in the room, but I am going to thank Hennepin County for the $15,000 grant, which is enabling us over a 2-year period of time to bring organics drop-off to Richfield. It's an exciting time because we are, it's amazing, the task force committee, which is working really hard. And then Jim, who was just here, did a great job bringing me at the end of my illness this year to apply for a Minnesota Green Corps member, which is run by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. And we were lucky enough they said yes. And so Rachel Lindblom has been working very hard on making this all happen. A lot of things have to get ordered. You have to order garbage cans, and you have to order locks, and you have to order bagels. No, not that kind of bagel. Anyway, I'll let Rachel talk about the next slide.
Karen's right. I have had to order a lot of things. Not locks, though. Not that kind of locks. So yeah, organic drop-off sites are coming to Richfield. Actually, we are officially launching on Thursday, so it's a very busy week, very exciting week. We have had a big turnout so far. I think last time I checked before I left the office today, we had 314 households registered, which is amazing. We're well on our way to our goal. And we hope to keep registering people. So after I explain this, I will give more registration information as well. So just a little overview. If anyone's not familiar with organic waste, also known as compost, basically you can compost any food waste at all. Meat, bones, dairy, things that you can't put in your backyard compost, along with fruits, vegetables, any food waste at all. If you eat it, you can compost it. Additionally, industrial composting, which is what drop sites are, is really cool because you can put a lot in there that you don't normally think of. You can compost a lot of things that are like non-recyclable papers, so Kleenex, toilet paper, tissues that are used to clean up water, obviously no chemicals, stuff like that. It's really important to kind of be aware of what you're putting in the organics. And then also natural household items, so this is not just kitchen food waste we're talking about. A lot of it comes from the bathroom as well. If you use Q-tips with paper stems, toilet paper rolls, those are also recyclable, but compost is cool, and things like that. So we have a lot of resources online at richfieldmn.gov/organics to check out multiple lists, and you can also contact me as well if you have any questions. That's also where you can sign up.
So why should we compost? That's what fits so well into our goals at Wood Lake when we talk about the environment. It reduces landfilling. Our landfills are just bursting at the seams, and so much of our food waste is actually future soil. It reduces greenhouse gas emissions. This particular kind of composting, I call it the gold standard of composting. If you are a backyard composter, that you can do so much more with industrial compost, and that means that the methane gas that would normally come out of just landfilling actually goes into the soil before it turns into methane, which is one of the worst carbon gases. It conserves our natural resources and landfill space, protects our air, land, and water, it prevents pollution, and it improves public health because of that. It supports the economy because where we're going to be sending our compost to down in Rosemont, they do have a mulch store where they will be reselling the compost back to people as well.
Another point on the economy is that by producing less of your own waste at home and contributing more to compost, you actually have the opportunity to perhaps cut down on your trash service at home, whether that's the size of your cart or the amount of collection every week, every other week. So it's really consumer and big picture city, state, economies as well. So then just a brief point, for those of you who might not have heard, we have two sites, one at Wood Lake Nature Center and one at Hope Church. The Wood Lake site is the diagram on the left, and the star is where we have the dumpster kind of at the end of the parking lot. And same with Hope Church, it's across the parking lot from the main doors. So on site we have the dumpster, which is locked to prevent extra trash and as well as animals to getting inside because it's food waste. So we want to kind of make sure we're taking care of that. We also are providing compostable bags while supplies last to residents with a limit of 2 bags per week per household. They're 13-gallon bags, so don't worry about running out of space. But yeah, so that'll be on site. Again, if you're interested, you can register online, richfieldmn.gov/organics. And that is kind of organics in a nutshell. It's easy, it's convenient. If you've never heard of it before, it's super easy to implement in your house. If you're already doing backyard composting, you can add so much more to your routine. So thank you for having us.
I just wanted to mention really quick that this grant was possible because, or this program that we're doing is possible from a grant that we got from Hennepin County. And I know our Hennepin County Commissioner Gotel was very instrumental in helping us obtain this grant. I think she's in the audience. Would you please stand to be recognized? Thank you. And this program is free. It's free. And how many do we have registered?
About 350.
About 315, that's just a great response so far. And
And 316. It's really easy. I just registered. So.
awesome.
Yes, it is easy.
Were you using your phone during a council meeting?
Hey,
Thank you
that's
so
a great
much.
point that mobile registration is available. You don't have to register on a computer. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen and Rachel and Jim, for all your work. And there, I think Kathleen, who was up here earlier, is on the task force as well. And if there's any other residents, and Maureen is here. I believe Susan is here. So there's plenty of community members that are contributing and making this happen. Again, another great opportunity to build community and do something impactful here in Richfield.
Thank you. Now, Mayor-elect and myself have the distinct pleasure of escorting Councilmember Garcia to the podium, and got a couple small epistles to read to her.
She's in trouble. If you guys didn't know, that's what we're doing right now.
When I indicated that I have a couple proclamations, Mayor Dayton decided that what the city was going to do for, Governor Dayton was overtaken by and impressed by what we proposed to do for Councilmember Garcia, that he sent along his own proclamation with the imprinted stamp of the state of Minnesota and everything, but I'm not chagrined. I guess I'm happy that he chose to put the same thing in his proclamation that we put in ours, so he copied it. With that being said, I'm going to read the proclamation that stems from the city of Richfield, because that is nearest and dearest to Edwina's heart. Proclamation of the city of Richfield. Whereas Edwina Garcia has pursued a lifelong commitment to community and civic involvement, including volunteering for city commissions, school committees, and civic organizations in Richfield. And whereas Edwina Garcia is a long-serving and active member of the Richfield League of Women Voters, including hosting the Inside the Issues cable television program. And whereas Edwina Garcia was first elected to the Richfield City Council, representing Ward 3, on November 6, 1984, and re-elected on November 8, 1988, and served 6 years from 1985 to 1990. And whereas Edwina Garcia was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives on November 6, 1990, and re-elected to 3 legislative additional terms in 1992, 1994, and 1996, serving the citizens of Richfield in the Minnesota legislature for 2,919 days. You count those? Okay. You have a little chart. Was that a countdown or a count up? Okay. And whereas Edwina Garcia is the first woman of color to serve in the Minnesota legislature, and whereas Edwina Garcia was again elected to the Richfield City Council, representing Ward 2, on November 6, 2012, and re-elected on November 8, 2016, to a second term. And whereas Edwina Garcia received numerous honors, awards, and recognitions throughout her career, including the City of Richfield Key to the City Appreciation Award in 1991, the Legislator of the Year Award for 1994-95 by the State Ladies Auxiliary of the VFWs, the Richfield Chamber of Commerce Governmental Award for contributions made to governmental affairs in 1999, and the Richfield Human Rights Commission Jean and Mary Jacobson Outstanding Citizen Award in 2008. And whereas, on behalf of the citizens and businesses of the city of Richfield, the city wishes to recognize and thank Councilmember Edwina Garcia for her tireless and continuing service to the community. And now, therefore, I, Pat Elliott, Mayor of the city of Richfield, do hereby proclaim the day of Monday, November 26, 2018, as Edwina Garcia Day in the city of Richfield, proclaimed this 13th day of November 2018. Now, just okay, just a minute. In deference to Governor Dayton, I'm going to read the part of the proclamation that differs somewhat from Richfield's honorarium and dedication to Edwina. So, whereas on behalf of the people of the state of Minnesota, and especially the city of Richfield, the state wishes to recognize and thank Edwina Garcia for her tireless service to Minnesota. Now therefore, I, Mark Dayton, Governor of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim Monday, November 26, 2018, as Edwina Garcia Day in the state of Minnesota. I have to admit, when I first looked at the proclamation that was sent to me from the state, the font on it was a -2. And I don't have glasses strong enough, so they bumped it up. And they also changed their day because they had a day different than ours and moved it to ours in recognition that Edwina belongs to us, not the state. So, I think Edwina is going to circulate because there's a lot of people here that know her and love her, so I think it's only a good opportunity to go out and welcome your friend.
Okay. First, Mayor, let's see. Mayor-elect, and my dear friend, Mayor Pat Elliott. I know, it's meant a lot to me to be part of the Richfield City Council. And I want to acknowledge, the council members. We've worked well together, we've played well together, we've done good work together. But I also want to acknowledge Steve Devich, my friend, my city manager. I have known him for 38 years, and most of that time we've gotten along, I think I added them all up, and it was like, I think 6 weeks that we've gotten along great. Out of the 38 years is not bad. I'll tell you about my marriage later. But anyway, the reason why Richfield is so important to me is because we're such a cohesive community. We all pride ourselves on calling us the urban hometown. And we are the urban hometown. We're very, very, it's funny, like all of these folks that are here, most of us know each other. And it just fills my heart with gratitude that I am recognized like this, and I know that the culprits were Mr. Devich and the mayor. And I will enjoy serving with Mayor-elect Maria Reagan Gonzalez. I will miss the heck out of our new State Representative-elect Michael Howard. And I'm glad that Simon Troutman is sitting next to me so we can play games together. But it means a great deal, and to tell you the truth, my husband, from day one when I said, I'd like to run for office, and after a few spats, no, I'm just kidding. No, but he did come forth and he said, I will support you 100%, and I said, that's not good enough. And I said, when you're willing to support me 145%, I'm going to run. And he said, okay. He said, you've got it. And our daughter, Jill Bella, she has been the whole world to us. We have been blessed, and I mean that literally. We have been blessed by the good Lord to have such a wonderful daughter. And I'd like to introduce my family, my husband, Joe, my daughter, Jill, my nephew, Art. Can you stand? And my boy back there. Where are you, Peter? There he is. And I'd also like to introduce my very best friend from Columbia Heights, Barbara Goodwin. My very good friend from Chanhassen, Minnesota, Veronica Schultz. And of course, where are you, Debbie? And my very good friend, Debbie Gotel. But you know, Richfield is about community. And Richfield is about community that can work together, respect each other, and set a goal and work to implement that goal. All of these folks that I've known for years and years and years, my campaign manager, John B. Ostad, he was a real honey. I mean, I can't, you know, really, if I were to go down and tell you all about everybody, I wouldn't be able to tell you who I loved more. Because you're all very special to me, and you've all had a part in my life, and I've loved to see you grow and really come into your own. And now we're going to have Mary Supple as our new at-large council member, and we've been friends for 28 years. So that's what I mean. We're together. You know, we care about each other, and we've built this city together. And not only Mr. Devich, but also, I would say, the team of directors and all the employees in Richfield. We have had a good run, and I am truly, truly grateful, and I will not forget this. It means a great deal to me. And God bless you all for coming and sharing this with me. And if you did want to go to a local watering hole afterwards, let me know where you're at, and I can join you after I do my work. You know, Mayor Elliott would not let me go. He said, no, you've got to stay. So anyway, thank you very, very much. Love you guys.
There's a long list of comments and funny stories and maybe some inappropriate stories that we got from folks about their time with Edwina, but we did want to read some of the good ones, Edwina. You're lucky that we love you. Remember this. So this is from Mary and Mike Supple. Edwina, this honor is so well deserved. Thank you for your service to our community. It is a far better place because of you. Edwina, thank you for your life of service to the people of Richfield and Minnesota. It is an honor to serve with you. It was an honor to serve with you in the legislature back in 1990s. Back then, I saw you as a role model for being a public servant, something that is still evident in your life. I'm glad to hear of this well-deserved recognition for you and join others in congratulating you by saying thanks for all you do. State Senator John Marty. And I'll read one more. Sure wish I could be there. Edwina is the best. She has a big heart, including for people with mental illness, and always tells the best jokes on the House floor. Mindy Grayling, former state rep. So there's so many people here today and people who couldn't join you who love you so much, Edwina, and we want to make sure you know that. Yes, I can take a phrase.
This is that was my good friend from Columbia Heights, and we've known each other, and we've known secrets, and we know where the bodies are buried. Thank you so much. I'm going to go out there for a little bit. Edwina. minutes. Recess.
At Edwina's request, we're going to recess for about 10 minutes so she can greet all her friends and have a moment to talk with you. So take a break.
That's right. It's like she thinks that's her day. Members, and then we're in agreement that the process.
That we're going to add some.
So I posted her speech live, but I think people are going to think that she's maybe leaving now. Because yes, how are you? Steve, good to see you. Yeah.
Question or concern, we'll be in touch.
Yeah, no, it's a long process.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but I do appreciate what you're saying. Just
We'll probably reach out to some.
that would be great. Can I introduce you to this is one of our commissioners?
Sorry, folks, we got to get back to work. Now, just as thank you, everyone, on behalf of the City Council and also Edwina Garcia. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. And actually, the next item is hats off to Hometown Hits. I'm going to make it easy, short, and quick, and hats off to Edwina Garcia.
All right.
And then I will move to Mayor-elect Reagan Gonzalez.
Very briefly, so we have a great opportunity as a community. You are all invited this Friday here, 5:30, to interview it or to meet with our candidates for city manager. So if you have nothing to do this Friday from 5:30 to 6:30 and you're interested, please join us for a meet and greet with the candidates for city manager. It's an extremely important decision. We're very sad to see Steve go. He's done such a great job here in Richfield. And now we'll be welcoming somebody new, and Friday will be a chance for the community to get to know who the candidates are. And lastly, I just want to give my hats off to Edwina. Edwina has been such a great mentor, friend, support of mine, such an encouragement and role model, not only for myself, but so many people in our community. And I could sit here and talk forever about Edwina, but I won't do that. That'll be another day. But thank you so much, Edwina, for everything you've done and for your amazing mentorship and support.
Thank you.
Councilmember Howard?
And I wanted to use my hats off to Hometown Hits tonight to acknowledge and congratulate Councilmember Garcia as well. And thinking about this, I wanted to mention three things about Edwina, and all three were so present just in your remarks tonight. One is, of course, your humor. I think we all recognize the structure of a Councilmember Garcia joke. It starts with a bit of a deadpan introduction to a story and just a little kind of glint in her eye, and then comes the smackdown that we've all been on the receiving end of, but so affectionately. And so humor is one. The other, and Councilmember Reagan Gonzalez just mentioned it, is just mentorship.
Yeah.
You don't just, you care for people, but you care for them in a way that you want to see them grow and succeed. And I think all of us up here have experienced that. So many watching have experienced it. I can think of times for me when I was just running for the very first time, having coffee with you and hearing your wisdom and advice. And then up here as well, so many times as well, whether it's a poke in the back or at the end of the council meeting, a word of the wise. Just that mentorship is so meaningful to me and to so many others. And then the last is just your sense of history and respect for this institution, the institution of government and public service. To me, that just emanates from everything that you give to our community in this work, and for decades of service. And Councilmember Reagan Gonzalez calls you El Jefe. For me, that you are the stateswoman of Richfield, someone with a big heart, a sharp wit, and my friend. And so congratulations, Edwina.
Councilmember Troutman.
Well, in addition to thanking Edwina Garcia and honoring her service, which I just want to remind everybody, she's still a council member. We still got more work to do, right?
She's not retiring, just to be clear.
So I'm not just grateful for the work we've done and the work you've done, but the work we have yet to do over the next number of years. So it's a privilege to call you a colleague and friend. But in addition to that, I also want to take my hats off to our Parks and Rec Director, Jim Topitzhofer, who is with some mixed emotions that we found out that he's decided to take retirement here. And so your work in our community has been tremendous, is tremendous. Parks and Rec are so much the heart of our community, and your leadership, you're taking slings and arrows from lots of people that also want good things for the city. But you just stewarded our resources well. You've returned to us parks that are better and more beautiful and ecologically friendly than they were when I was a kid. And so thank you for that, and hats off to you. And it's a little bittersweet, but I just couldn't be more grateful for your service here. So I just want to say thank you. Okay, can we give him a hand?
Councilmember Garcia.
Here we come.
And our mayor, Pat Elliott, and he's always told me that I'm the favorite council member. So his are very, very special. And Simon, you and I are here.
We are.
And mayor-elect, pretty soon you'll be here. So it's going to continue because we'll have good people. Pretty soon we'll have someone from the east side. And we're going to continue trucking. Thank you.
I would accept a motion approving the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Consent calendar. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. The consent calendar, as soon as I find it here on my computer page, which
38 years and you can't find
and I
it.
still can't find it.
That was my line.
Yeah.
You gotta be quick.
I'm about to get to it, though. Hang on. I'm just about there. Okay, and then I'll do the thing I always do. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, all the individual items and the recommended actions will also have been approved and require no further council action. Tonight we have a very long consent calendar, and I will start off with item A, which is consideration of the approval of the Richfield Pedestrian Master Plan. Item B is consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 temporary construction easements and 1 permanent right-of-way easement at 7601 18th Avenue South related to the 77th Street Underpass project. Item C is consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing a master partnership contract between the City of Richfield and the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Item D is consideration of the approval of setting a public hearing to be held on December 11, 2018 for the consideration of renewal of the on-sale intoxicating and Sunday liquor licenses for 2019 for El Tejeban Mexican Grill, LLC, doing business as El Tejeban Mexican Grill, Thompson's Fireside Pizza Incorporated, doing business as Fireside Foundry, Frenchman's Pub Incorporated, DBA, as Frenchman's, VPC Richfield Pizza LLC, doing business, or DBA, Giordano's of Richfield, Wiltshire Restaurants LLC, doing business as Houlihan's Restaurant and Bar, Paisan Incorporated, DBA, as Khan's Mongolian Barbecue, Lynn 65 LLC, doing business as Lynn 65 Kitchen and Bar, Lindale Smokehouse LLC, doing business as Lindale Smokehouse, Pizza Luce 7 Incorporated, doing business as Pizza Luce, Fred Babcock, VFW Post 5555, doing business as 4 Nichols Food and Drink, and Minneapolis Richfield American Legion Post 435. Item E is consideration of the approval of setting a public hearing to be held on December 11th for the consideration of the renewal of a pawnbroker and secondhand goods dealer license for 2019 for the Metro Pawn and Gun Incorporated. Item F, consideration of the approval of setting a public hearing to be held on December 11, 2018 for the consideration of the renewal of on-sale wine and on-sale 3.2% malt liquor license for 2019 for Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado, LLC, doing business as Chipotle Mexican Grill, Devani's Incorporated, doing business as Devani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies, Joy's Pattaya Thai Restaurant, LLC, doing business as Joy's Pattaya Thai Restaurant, LRFC LLC, doing business as Local Roots Food and Coffee. Los Sanchez Taqueria, number 2, LLC, doing business as Los Sanchez Taqueria. Minnesota Junior Hockey Group, LLC, doing business as Minnesota Magicians, which are located at the Richfield Ice Arena. My Burger Operations, LLC, DBA My Burger. Patrick's French Bakery Incorporated, doing business as Patrick's Bakery and Cafe. And Henry 2, DBA Red Pepper Chinese Restaurant. Item G is consideration of the approval of the renewal of a contract with Chiefs Towing Incorporated for public safety towing services for December 1st, 2018 through November 30th, 2019. Item H, consideration of the adoption of a resolution to accept a grant of $3,114 from the Office of Justice Programs for bulletproof vests. Item I, consideration of approval of an electronics funds transfer policy. Item J, consideration of the approval of a personal professional services agreement with Hennepin County to implement a grant project to operate 2 organics drop-off sites, one at Wind Lake Nature Center and the other in partnership with Hope Church. Item K, consideration of the approval of an agreement with Hope Presbyterian Church to operate an organics drop-off site on church premises located at 7132 Portland Avenue for a 2-year period. And finally, item L, consideration for the adoption of a resolution designating polling places for 2019. And that concludes tonight's consent calendar.
I would move the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar is passed. Next item on the agenda is number 9. Councilmember Troutman will address it.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a consideration for the adoption of a resolution granting a subdivision waiver allowing the division of 6933 Oliver into 3 lots. Edris Customs Homes acquired the property at 6933 Oliver Avenue and proposed to split the existing 140-foot lot, wide lot, into 3 lots to allow the construction of 3 new homes. Splitting the lot requires the council approval of a subdivision waiver. The property measures 140 feet and consists in width and consists of 3 platted lots, which were combined into 1 lot prior to the construction of the existing house on the property. 10 feet of the northern lot was split off and combined with the adjacent property of 6925 Oliver, resulting in 6933 Oliver being 10 feet shy of the full 3 lots. And I know we have a number of people. I think we have the developer here, and we have a number of neighbors. I know I've talked to a number of neighbors this week, and the mayor has also talked to a number of neighbors. I've gotten a number of emails. I haven't gotten a chance to return all those emails, but have read all of them. But I think we're going to make some time for folks to come up and speak.
Right, like I'd indicated, a number had registered for the open forum. It was on the agenda, but I think council and staff had already decided that this would be an opportunity for them to speak. So what I would suggest, I can call your names or you can just come up, but try not to be repetitive. I know what a lot of the concerns are, so just come up and let us know, and then we'll allow Mr. Endres a chance to talk, and then we'll discuss it up here at the day. So maybe, I don't know if it's easier, I'll just call the names if that's all right with you. When you come up, just sign in, give us your name and address, and then let us know what you're thinking. Michelle Wallen.
Good evening. I live adjacent next door to the property in question at 6925 Oliver. When it came time to buy our first home, my husband and I narrowed down our search to West Richfield. There was so much we loved about it. You know, we loved the nearby parks, the proximity to highways, the lakes, the variety of homes, the mature trees, and the quietness. Over the last 10 years, we've grown to know our neighbors, including Henrietta Metcalf, who lived at that same address at 6933 Oliver Avenue South, until her home recently sold. In fact, when she wasn't able to stay in her home after she fell, the Metcalf family gave us a key to regularly check on the property in her absence. We're also incredibly fortunate to have a trusted neighbor for childcare who also lives on the 6900 block of Oliver Avenue, a street that we walk our 2-year-old son across twice a day. Even as our family grows, we've never thought much about moving out of our quaint home on Oliver Avenue until recently. When Henrietta's home at 6933 Oliver went on the market, I knew there'd be a possibility of future construction, but never did I fathom that someone would try to stack 3 properties onto one lot. This would mean a significant loss of mature trees. It would definitely increase traffic and noise, and it would also detract from the privacy of adjacent homes and greatly impact my family's quality of life and those of my neighbors, many of whom are here today. As it turned out, our neighbors on the 7200 block of Logan, just a few blocks away, also felt the same way when this same builder bought a similar lot back in 2013. As reported in a December 13th article of the Sun Current, the lot on the 7200 block of Logan was 150 feet wide, so even larger. And Andrus also wanted to subdivide it into 3 homes. With support from the community and its Richfield leaders, this 3-way subdivision was denied. Today, I'm asking for the same support from the city. 2 lots, I see, would be sufficient for a 140-foot lot without sacrificing our neighborhood's character. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to have to remind Councilmember Garcia and the audience, please don't applaud. We want to get through everybody, so let's give everybody a chance to speak this evening. Steve McPherson. Be careful what you say, Steve. You live just down the block from me.
No, you know where I live. So yeah, I live at 6805 Oliver. Basically, I have the same concerns. A neighbor that's 3 houses down from me has a house that's on a very small lot, and they've extended it through the backyard. As far as, you know, what they're going to experience, the same thing I'm experiencing is basically when I go out my backyard, I have this huge house, you know, that's just, you know, 40, 80 feet away possibly, and, you know, they're looking right at me in my backyard. I can't really see down through the, you know, everybody's neighbors. It's a double-story house. Basically, you know, if it's a garage there with an open area, you can kind of see down the block. So that's just one thing that I feel like it's just not appealing for our neighborhood. I did a couple numbers. Basically, the houses on our block right now are estimated, there's about 10 houses on a block right now. This proposed solution would put about 15 houses on each block. You know, obviously it's just this particular case, but in an overall scheme, it'd be 15 houses on each block. It gets pretty tight there. Basically, I did 140 feet, you know, it's about 70-foot lot. I think the average lot, my house is right around 70 feet as well, single home lot in Richfield. I did call Sunnyside Mobile Home Park in Minneapolis, and a trailer home lot is 40 feet wide. So I don't know if that's the way we want to go in Richfield, you know, to have small lots like this put on our properties. The only thing else I would say is just that, like Edwina mentioned earlier, Richfield's more of a hometown feel, you know. I kind of, and if I wanted to live in Minneapolis where my neighbor's, you know, a couple arms lengths away, you know, then that's where I would have moved to. And I feel like this is moving towards that kind of a solution. So I would not like to see this development go in. I would be okay if 2 houses on this property, but not 3. So, thank you.
Thank you. Austin DeRosa.
Good evening. My name is Austin DeRosa. I own 6945 Oliver Avenue South. I live on the other side. I'm going to speak on behalf of my household because I know we're limited. My position stands close to home for two reasons. One, it's right next to my home, but also I am a project manager for a custom home build. I recently completed a dream home in the parade of homes, and I know what plans consist of. I understand the concept of wanting to build and develop. I understand how plans go, more than some might begin to even think about. When I think about this particular plan of dividing up this parcel, I kind of start thinking to myself even more so outside the box, beyond just our trees in our neighborhood, but also the irrigation. I think about the traffic. I think about the overall development of our neighborhood and our community. You know, building custom homes is a lot of fun. You know, building people's dreams is a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But I also enjoy the character of my home. It was built in 1948. It was lightly updated in 1955 and almost wrapped in bubble wrap, where the doorknobs and the door cases and so much of the interior of my home is still in custom condition. And I like that. I appreciate that. One of the reasons why we bought it was because of the fact that it had that character. It is a large lot. I like that, you know? I do understand the concept of wanting to, you know, build on this lot. 3 homes, I think it's excessive. I also think about if it starts here, where we're starting to make concessions to shorten lots down, does that mean this is going to continue to happen? Are we slowly going to have a consistency of that now you can build on a 40-foot space? How close does a neighbor's home have to be? I mean, I know in St. Louis Park, it's almost impossible to even put up a window without filing for 1,000 pieces of paper, just because there's so many variances between, you know, what the fire rating is between this distance and what the offset is from over here. I mean, I feel like there's so many things that I want to question, and this isn't the time for, and though I have the questions I will look into later, but for this particular topic now, I want to try to stick to points without rambling more than I have. The home itself that was proposed to me when I received the letter in the mail asking to purchase 10 strip of our yard in the north end was so that 2 homes could be built. And when I questioned, not pointing out that I was a project manager for a custom home builder, you know, I questioned the logic and what was going to happen next. And I was told, don't worry, we'll put up a privacy fence, and we just need this little space because the person that we're going to build for would like a rambler, and it would require more space. To which I'm just not willing to give up the trees. We're not willing to give up the trees or our property, you know? And it's only because the garage on the other side that was sold, you know, that's why this couldn't happen, you know? And I know this. I called the city. I spoke with the city, and I didn't expect this plan to come into play with 3 homes. And to me, that just feels unfair, you know, and deceitful. The price was then increased, you know, to which we still said, no, thank you. $6,000 was just like, what? And $10,000 was just like even more like, what? I mean, it's just, it was never for sale in the first place. And it never should be. And I know my neighbor who lived there. I tried to blow the leaves one day, and she came out with napkins because those were her leaves off the tree. I know that she would not be okay with taking down those trees. When we bought, we had a conversation about the trees because there was chicken wire that had gone up, and the chicken wire was more on our side than hers. And but she did that because she wanted to make sure that she felt the ownership of those trees stayed there, and we explained that we wouldn't do that. Those trees aren't going anywhere, regardless of to sell them to anybody. The idea of 2 homes, personally, I don't want to see 2. You know, I don't. I just. But as a developer, you know, I understand that you have to be flexible with times because times do change, and I understand that, you know, the product that is produced by this developer, I've looked at, they're not ugly, you know, they're not broke, they're not bad design, you know, they're nice homes, and you know, I'd love to see 1 next to us. That'd be nice. I would not like to see 2, but I just cannot stand for 3. Just doesn't. And I say that as a homeowner. I say it's neighbor, I say it as a member of the community, and I say it as a person who's been building homes for a very long time, and I stand by it with a strong education that this is just a very bad plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Jacob, you okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Didn't want to just pass right by. All right, thank you. Ellen Lees?
Hi, I'm Ellen Lees, and I live at 6932 Oliver, directly across the street from where Henrietta and Bill Metcalf lived. And it's an idyllic place. It's like living across the street from a park, and you can watch the animals, and it's nice. And I would agree, 2 is more than I'd like to see. 3 is more than is tolerable. I agree with most of what was said, and I would just add, we live at the very bottom of a hill that drains from everywhere, and increasing footprint of houses in that lot across from us is going to increase the flow of water that goes through our yard into the back drainage area that has where they've removed houses. I just think we really need to think about drainage as well as the aesthetic. I guess that's all I have to.
Thank you. Nancy Lees? Okay, thank you. Dave Cole and Mike Smith? Oh, okay, hi, Mike. Mike, if you want to talk, you really need to come to the mic.
Hi. I'm Dave Cole, and when I heard Edwina speak about Richfield history, it brought about to mind my family's history in Richfield. My grandmother moved here in 1942 and is a truck farmer on 7606 Morgan, about where the Best Buy parking ramp is now. And I grew up on 76 in Oliver, about where the lobby of one of the Best Buy headquarters is located now. But I can say that I've been a lifelong Richfield resident, and I agree with everything they're saying about our neighborhood. I drove through it many times and dreamt about the fact that the area is just fantastic with oak trees and houses with character. But I guess I want to go back to about 2013 at a location on Logan about 4 blocks away. The parcel at that time was 150 feet wide, and it was unanimously, or was proposed to be subdivided in 3 lots. At that point, the city council rejected that unanimously. I'd like to share some quotes from then Councilman Mr. Elliott, who stated 2 lots on the property would be agreeable, but my first thought was 3 houses are too many on that piece of property. Mayor Gotel also added the city has allowed division of 1 lot into 50-foot wide lots, but noted that splitting up a 150-foot lot into 3 has not been done. So we move forward to 2018 to a lot at 6933 being considered for a subdivision into 3 lots, 10 foot less in length at 140, which per lot size falls short of the 6,700 square footage right now required in the city ordinance, zoning ordinance. Each lot at 6933, if allowed to be subdivided, would be 400 square feet short, and I oppose 3 lots. 2 lots are agreeable, not the best solution, but maybe the best outcome. I believe back in 2013 that the council came to a decision which was the best outcome for everybody involved. And I'd just like to quote, and I'm sure you've all read this, the core values of the city council. The city of Richfield puts its citizens first. The city is citizen-focused and makes all decisions based on what is in the best interest of current and future residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave, I do need to ask if you played Little League at Tuma Field. At Tuma Field. The Little League field was right down from 76 an hour. Just had to ask. Mr. Smith?
I was going to say a lot more, but I am totally against it. I live right across the street. It's like having a park. The Metcalfs, if they were here, they would be totally against this. They took care of that place. He mowed that yard by hand. The front yard is full of flowers, and now we're going to come in and level the place, and you say you want to save the economics or whatever this, you know, we want to keep the trees and this. Some of those trees are probably 10 times older than I am, and we're going to level them, and that's what they did to that other lot, too. I walked my dogs through this neighborhood. That lot on Logan was full of trees. They were all leveled to put those 2 homes in there. I don't want to see that happen across from my house.
Okay. Thank you. I'm out of cards. Anybody else care to speak? No, I'm not, I don't need cards for you to come up. That's why I'm asking if anybody wants to come up and speak.
Hi, my name's Amber Krogan. I live next to Michelle Wallen on Oliver Avenue. Before purchasing my home, my family and I drove by on weekend mornings, weekend nights, weekday mornings, weekday nights, check traffic, how many cars are on the street, how many cars are in the driveway. We wanted to know what we were getting into. We looked for a well-established neighborhood, and that's what we found here. We didn't know, there were newer houses that we saw, and across from those houses there was open land. We don't know what's going in there. We know what's here, and that's why we moved here. I don't want to have to move out of Richfield to have more space and to have the quiet and privacy that we have here. We love our neighborhood. It's an adorable 1950s, quiet, wonderful neighborhood. I would hate to have to leave.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Peterson. I live at 6908. Recently purchased a home, our first home with my wife about 3 years ago. Echo many of the same feelings, thoughts, concerns as my fellow neighbors, some of which I've met, some of which I have not, and share with them many of the reasons why we bought into this neighborhood. However, I do want to make 2 additional points to those concerns to add on to those concerns that have already been aired here tonight. This is my first city council attendance for me personally, and it's been enlightening for a few good, few bad reasons, but those can be discussed later outside. But some things that have really stuck with me are the urban community that we have here that is very special, and the history that is in Richfield is a lot of the reason why a lot of us have echoed tonight, why we have purchased into this neighborhood. I think what, to echo probably our newest neighbor on the street, I too work in the construction and design business, more so on the commercial side, but I think the 2013 precedent set forth that of a unanimous decision not to split a property of this size is something that should be considered more so than anything, because it sets forth the precedent of continuing that urban community that we have. We have plenty of opportunities within this community to provide new families, young families such as myself, to move in. We have lots of opportunities for homes that are turning over, like the late neighbor that I actually never got a chance to meet. It's unfortunate that there is turnover, but it also means that there's growth in future for our community, something that I want to share and something that I want to raise a family in, and something that I look forward to without needing to separate and put forth future lots of this size. And I think that passing forth a precedent of an acceptance of 3 lots on this single lot moving forward sets a dangerous precedent for the urban community that is Richfield.
Thank you. Mr. Endres, would you like to come up? Anything to say?
I didn't bring my boxing gloves today. Okay, how much time do I get?
About 5 minutes.
Okay, do you have that camera?
Yeah, John can help you.
Thank you. Can you zoom that out? Control on. Anybody? Thank you. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what we have here is 3 houses. Here we are at lot 12, lot 13, lot 14. So my property consists of 3 lots. So first, if we can put Logan Avenue to bed here, at Logan Avenue, that was not platted as 3 lots. It was 150 feet wide. We were short 0.3 feet in the back to be able to split it into 3 lots without a variance. And so the reason that the council decided for 75-foot wide lots was because there was predominantly 75-foot wide lots on that block. This block has 50s. My property is platted as 50-foot wide lots, lots 12, 13, and 14. So, predominantly 50. My property consists of 3 lots. 3 lots. Okay, so on Humboldt Avenue, we did a subdivision there. We split off a property, and the property that we built on for the homeowner was 45.6 feet wide. On Irving Avenue, the city owns a property that is 40 feet wide. Again, the legal description of my property is lots 13, 14, and 12, 13, and 14. Yes, I'm missing 10 feet, but I'm still within the precedents that the city has set by allowing these other splits to happen, namely Humboldt Avenue and then others that they've done in the past. I don't have them on me, but I didn't expect so much comment, I guess, on this. So, because it's just kind of clear that I own 3 lots, 3 legal lots, save 10 feet. So, you know, I find it kind of difficult to take all that in and everybody to sit and say that, well, you should only have 2 there. Well, it is my property, okay? And I understand about the trees, and trust me, I try and save trees all the time. I don't like cutting trees down. And so it even so happens where we have a house built, and I got to go cut a tree down because I tried to save it, and I shouldn't have tried to save it. So I'm not going to go in there and just mow down everything. You know, and even Logan Avenue, we tried to save as many trees as we could there as well, and it wasn't full of trees. And even just by building 2 houses instead of 3, that wouldn't have changed much anyways. I mean, even as we have this laid out right now, it works out to where we're only taking out 1 27-inch oak, and we're going to try, and 1 22-inch oak that's right by a light pole. You know, at some point in time, you have to realize that these trees, they get too big, they become dangerous, you know, they fall in people's houses, so if it falls on your house, you're not really going to like that tree anymore, right? So they do get to a point where it's just time to cut them down for safety's sake, and just start new. So what we have proposed here are 3 homes on our lots, on our property, and mind you, the side yard setback, the minimum side yard setback in Richfield is 5 feet. And we're looking at side yard setbacks between 7 and 8.5 feet. So we're not even pushing the limits on the minimum side yards. So it just makes absolutely no sense why we couldn't build 3 homes on our 3 lots, other than you guys not liking it. So with that said, you won't always live there forever. On average, people move out of their houses every 7 to 10 years. So what if the next people that come in want to buy one of these houses? What if the next people that come in would rather see that they want to have more development in the area? You know, there's different opinions, and you have to, sometimes you got to take opinions with a grain of salt. You have to rule by logic and be objective with it. The price that we offered Austin here was at first initially $6,000 and then $10,000 because we did have a homeowner who wanted to build a Rambler after the fact. It's always been 3 lots. I've always planned on doing 3 houses here because I have 3 lots. You can clearly see that when you pull up the GIS and read the legal description. So it's always been 3, and it is a fair price because when you look at the value of a lot, we pay between $60,000 and $75,000, sometimes $85,000 for a lot. Now, if a lot is 75 feet wide, that's $1,000 a foot, right? So 10 feet, 10 grand. That seems like a logical way to get to a price without having to have an appraiser come out and figure out a price or try and comp it somehow. Let me go through my notes here because I had to write a lot of notes here. So I've discussed the lot widths that were well within what the city has approved before. I've discussed the side yard setbacks that says that we're well within city minimum side yard setbacks. We're not pushing the envelope on that at all. Let's see here. We have a list of buyers who want to build here. Richfield's a great place. I always have a list of people who want to build here. You know, and to stifle another family from being able to build in Richfield and to live in Richfield is not very fair to them. Just because you guys wanted to maintain whatever you're trying to maintain with a view or too many cars or what, but at the end of the day, the city planned on 3 homes being here. Lots 12, 13, 14, 3 homes, 1 home per lot, 2 cars per lot, whatever. You can plan on that. Might have not been for the time up to now, but at least that is what the city planned. And so this is well within what the city has planned. And same with the people and everything being there, you know, 3 families. You know, why would you try and kick 1 family out of the city? For what? What's your reason other than what you want yourselves, you know? This is my property, and I want to build 3 homes for 3 families.
Anything else, Mr. Andrus?
Just one sec here, please. You know, people commented that it's a nice park there. Well, it's private property. You know, it might look nice as a park right now. Well, it's private property. And you know who sold me the property were the Metcalfs. So obviously, they knew what we were going to do. So obviously, they were in support of what we were doing. And it was actually a non-MLS listing. It was a private sale. So they contacted me and sold it to me direct. So, you know, and everything that I've done in the city staff has supported me every single time because what we're doing is good. And the city supports the 3 homes here. The city staff supported the 3 homes on Logan. The city supported the split on Humboldt. Everything we do here, the city supports because it's right, it's just, it's fair, and it's good for the city and good for new buyers and new families.
Well, I think you're getting a little, in a legal term, argumentative, and that's not moving the ball forward, Mr. Andrus. If you want to tell us about the project, that's fine, but I don't think you need to be berating the audience, okay?
I'm not trying to, but it just seems that
it's starting to sound like it, that's all I'm
sorry,
saying.
Mr. Elliott, but it just seemed that I was getting berated with, that I was, you know, being disingenuous or greedy that I wanted to build 3 homes on my property.
Right, and I think you've made your point, you made it well, so sometimes it just gets a little repetitive.
Okay, I'll take your advice, thank you. Can I just review my last comments here? Someone commented on rainwater. We always design the rainwater and to float into the gutters, into the streets, and into the storm sewer system. But that's never a concern, and we're very meticulous with how we grade our lots, that we have formed ditches on the lot line so that we're making sure that we're not dumping on other homeowners' properties. On this particular lot, if I remember correctly, the grade goes up towards the back, so everything is naturally running towards the street. So rainwater is not an issue. You know, I think that's about all I got, so.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Troutman?
So the motion is to adopt a resolution granting a subdivision waiver for 6933. I've talked with staff. I've talked with a number of residents, and also talked with the mayor. And I'll share my thoughts, and then I'd welcome what staff and well, maybe should we give staff an opportunity to weigh in? Well, I'll say this. I'll say people talked about precedents, and I think it's exceedingly important not to set a precedent that 50-foot lots or 46-foot lots are somehow unacceptable, because I think that's not true. I think there are plenty of lots that are that size surrounding the area, surrounding the community. That being said, I think there are very few spaces in Richfield where we can build larger step-up housing, and this is one of those places. So some of the feedback that I've heard is that we want everything to sit kind of how the neighborhood always was. We want things to fit in with the characteristics of the neighborhood. I think 46 lots actually fit in with the neighborhood. However, I think we have an opportunity to grow and grow larger. We don't have too many opportunities like that. And so I would be inclined to support a division of 2 lots as opposed to 3 lots. But that's my two cents. I'd open it up to my colleagues or to staff.
Personally, I would like comments from the remaining council members, and then we'll talk to staff. Is that all right? Councilmember Howard, would you like to offer an opinion?
Sure. I'll offer some thoughts. I do have some questions for staff also. You know, one, I will just say thanks to neighbors for coming and sharing their concerns. I mean, I think that this is your neighborhood, and any sort of change to your neighborhood, it's reasonable to show concern. It's especially kind of that fear of the unknown. And so thank you for coming and weighing in. I'll admit that this is a challenge for me when weighing our goals. You know, our next item on the agenda is our comp plan. And reviewing our comp plan, a few of the stated goals in our comp plan are to maintain the diversity of housing types and price ranges in the city. Another goal is to create more move-up housing that allows growing families to move to a larger home in Richfield, and to create more opportunities for families to come to Richfield. So in some ways, those stated goals for our city's future, I think, are a bit at odds with what folks that live on this block are saying. So that's just something that we as a council individually have to wrestle with. I was glad to hear the specific I have just a few questions specifically here. The water flow and drainage was mentioned. I was glad that Mr. Enders mentioned that. Just a question for staff. Have we, in other new home developments of Mr. Enders or other builders, have we ran into any kind of drainage issues or things like that?
Councilmember Howard. Elevations are reviewed as part of the development review process. We make sure we know how much water will be coming off new homes. We limit the amount of impervious space that is allowed, and we make sure that that water flows where it is supposed to. Have adjustments needed to be made as a house built, and then you find that you need to adjust the flow of the water a little bit? Yes, but I'm not aware of any problems that we've had long-term.
Okay, thank you. And then there was a lot of discussion tonight about lot sizes and lot widths, and so and maybe some confusion on that. Currently on this block, and then I guess two questions. One, what are the lot sizes by average or by width on this block currently versus what is proposed? And then throughout the city, are there multiple examples of 50-foot or 47 or 48-foot, lots that are essentially this size?
Thank you, Councilmember Howard and City Council members. When we looked at this, the first thing we looked at was what's the predominant lot widths in this area. As a community development director, I kind of wear a couple of different hats. One is on the housing and development side. I take that hat off for this. This is on the land use side of things. So that's the first thing we took a look at. In looking at this block, they're excluding the subject property. There are 18 properties. The majority are 52 feet or less. There are a couple of 52-footers, mostly 50. There's 148 and 144 in this area. I don't know if Brandon in the AV can show page 210 of the staff report, but that has all the lot widths. Sorry, there's a 45.5 as well. And so we look at what is the existing neighborhood character. The existing neighborhood character really is 50-foot lots. That's the most predominant. What's being talked about here at 46.67 feet is a 40-inch difference. And I realize when neighbors look at the existing home on 3 lots there, it's hard to imagine what 3 homes would look like there. But if you think about the majority of homes in this neighborhood are 50-foot lots, it's having a lot that's this much narrower is the difference we're talking about. And so with that in mind, staff did make the recommendation for the 46.67-foot lots. With regards to the city as a whole, it's really all over the board. I can't imagine we have anything smaller than 40 feet. But there are many 40-footers, dozens at least. Throughout Richfield, 50 feet, very common. As Mr. Andrus said, the one example people pointed to on Logan, that was a neighborhood predominantly of 75-foot lots. So every neighborhood is a little different in this respect. So, thank you.
Okay.
The immediately adjacent properties are 60 feet to the north. The property to the south is actually 2 lots. It's one house built on 2 lots. The 2 lots are 50 feet and 62 feet. And so again, if that property owner were to wish to redevelop that with something else, I don't believe, as long as they could meet setbacks, they wouldn't need any city approvals to do two homes there. No.
And then, thank you for that. To Mr. Stark's point, in terms of visualizing, it is a challenge. I myself drove by the 6933 block. I also drove by a few of the other Enders homes to try to compare size and how that looked, that helps visualize a little bit more to see homes on some of those blocks. To Councilmember Troutman's point about the two houses and larger houses, my only comment there is I'm not sure how the neighborhood would respond to, two McMansion style houses versus the three houses that are proposed here. I mean, in some ways, that's a different proposition that's being proposed here tonight. So I guess when I'm balancing everything with our stated goals for our city's future, our long-term future, I'm inclined to support the motion tonight. I understand the concern, but reviewing our city's goals, where we're headed, the desire to increase and diversify housing stock across the city and welcome new folks to Richfield, I think this is a resolution I'd support.
No, come on. No, let's keep it respectful, okay? Councilmember Reagan Gonzalez.
I would also like to thank all the residents for coming and sharing your concerns. As Councilmember Howard stated, it is extremely important and understandable that folks are here expressing their concerns. It is their homes, it's your front yard, it's your neighborhood, it's your block. And I appreciate you coming. When residents do share their concerns with us, when they email us, when they call us, we read and listen to every voicemail. We read through the concerns you have, and we go back to staff and we say, this concern of traffic was brought up, this concern around sewer was brought up, looking at setting precedent was brought up. These are things that we investigate and ask our staff to clarify. So we go and we visit the site. So in this case, we've done that as well. And to just be straight and to the point with my perspective, again, considering the opportunities that we have and our goals to be setting and increasing housing diversity in Richfield and the impact that this will have on the neighborhood and the city, and the folks, I really do think that the proposal, it will fit in the neighborhood. I believe that it will fit on the block. I think the homes are not McMansions. I do feel like there are very few opportunities to be putting this type of housing in Richfield and increasing housing diversity. I understand that that's difficult for you to hear and not what you want to hear, but as Councilmember Howard said, looking at the big picture and the goals and the way that we are trying to grow and move forward, we have very little room. Redevelopment in Richfield is all we have. Development is changing in our own backyards, and we have to do it smart. And I do honestly believe, looking at all of this, everything that was given to us today and the research that we've done, that this is an opportunity for that to happen.
Councilmember Garcia.
Well, without having to go through this whole thing again, I would concur with the council members on our left. And I will support the resolution or.
Sorry, man.
I will tell you, in all candor, 12, 13 years I've been doing this. I've never abstained on a vote. I've actually called, much to the anger of city manager, called for a revote. So I'm not overly concerned about pressure. I need to speak with candor. You stopped by, never met you before in my life, and you wanted to talk about my dog. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah, and then I bought a car just like yours, so I'm emulating you. Sorry, Jacob. Yes. So I know you, I've talked to you. I walk my dog down your block probably 5 times a week. We used to have a big black dog and a big white one. We only got a white one now, and I'm working on my wife to get a second one. So you'll be seeing a lot of me. So I know you. I know the Zeebles, I know the Foslands, I know the McPhersons, I know all these people. They're all in my neighborhood. I live on 67th and Oliver. We moved to Richfield in 1953. I lived on 68th and Oliver. So believe me, I'm intimately familiar with the neighborhood. And despite you guys are half a block off Penn too. And it first week there, it quit bothering me. I do have a park right across. I got a no-name park right across from my house. I walk by these 3 lots every day, and then go down to Irving. And the point about that is too, when I come down Irving, I've seen the house that Mr. Endries, it's like 6944 Irving. The house that was on that lot was the size of a garage. The HRA owned it, sold it, and actually my wife asked me to talk to John about buying it because she wanted to build a house there. Mr. Enders got it, and I recommended to Councilmember Troutman, drive by the house and take a look on a small lot and what you can do with a house, and it fits. The house is on Logan. I don't walk away or back away from voting against that. I just didn't think it would work because that block, just like Mr. Enders said, is spread out. And so houses on 50-foot lots weren't going to be an anomaly. They fit. And I'm going to thank, believe it or not, Councilmember Garcia, Howard, and Reagan Gonzalez. I'm going to thank them that they were honest enough to voice what their intentions are in this, because that allows me to abstain, because I'm too familiar with the neighborhood, I'm too invested in it, and I would have hated to have to made the deciding vote, because even as I sit here right now, until faced with that, I'm not sure what I would have said. So that's my disclosure on being weak and unable to be able to walk down or through my neighborhood, having to make a vote one way or the other. So with that being said, I'm going to abstain regardless.
Well, Mr. I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry.
Nope, that's it.
I think since it seems like the sense of the room is not necessarily in my favor, and Mr. Edris is going to get, it appears, the variance that he's seeking. I just want to say something on behalf of our residents, that when you step up in public, people say things that you don't want to hear, and it's not friendly and it's not fun. And I would just urge you in the future not to fight back and not to take shots at residents, because they put me here, not you. And so I want to say to my colleagues, in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about one home, a one home difference, and sometimes the balance is so significant that it just, from a revenue standpoint or a community development standpoint, I think there's not much of a difference. Here, I think there is. We're talking about one home, so I will make the motion. I would move that we would not adopt the granting subdivision waiver as presented, and I'd make that motion and see if anybody be willing to second it.
Hearing no second, do you want to withdraw the motion?
Hearing no second, I'd withdraw the motion. So then I would make the motion that we adopt a resolution granting a subdivision waiver for 6933 Oliver Avenue.
All in favor?
Aye. There needs to be a...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? I abstain. So it's 4 ayes, 1 abstain.
No, 3
Yeah.
eyes.
Oh, sorry. See, I am in a fog.
And I would just like to respond to Councilmember Troutman's comment, just to make sure that there's not a misunderstanding. I did not make my decision based on tax revenue of this property from 2 lots to 3. I understand that this impacts my neighbors and our residents, and so that, just to be clear, I absolutely did not make a decision based on that at all. I looked at the proposal, I looked at the impacts, I did my research and investigated, listened to the comments and concerns of the residents, and I did believe, and I do believe, that what is being proposed will fit and is a good fit for that. So I want to clarify that.
I appreciate that, council member. And if I can say just something to the residents, I have total confidence in the integrity of my colleagues, and that's not rhetoric coming from council member Reagan Garcia, that's sincere. So thank you for that.
So the resolution passed, correct?
I believe so.
No, it's,
I would just say, if folks do have questions, we're nearing the end of the meeting, and I'm sure that both all council members and staff would stay and talk with residents after the council meeting.
next item on the agenda is the consideration of resolution approving the 2040 comp plan. Councilmember Howard.
I have the consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving submittal of the Richfield 2040 Comprehensive Plan to the Metropolitan Council. And I want to note for folks that may be reading the agenda online or watching, the full comp plan is not included in this packet, but because of its size, you can access it online at richfieldmn.gov/comp plan. Over the past 18 months, staff and consultants from the Hoisington Kegler Group Incorporated and SRF Consulting Group have been working to gather feedback and update the city's comprehensive plan as required by our state statute. This work has included a significant amount of research to the community in the form of paper and online surveys, pop-up events, open houses, and steering committees. And I just want to comment, it really has been extensive and grounds us in the comp plan we have before us. Based on the policymaker feedback, survey responses, and direct conversations, the comp plan has been updated to reflect the direction that Richfield will head in the coming years. The city has never viewed the comprehensive plan as a static document, and thus it has been revised a number of times over the past decade to reflect changes in policies and market realities, or in response to anticipated transportation changes. Community input confirmed that the 2030 plan was still largely relevant and reflective of the community vision. As such, the 2040 comp plan is more of a refinement than an overhaul of our previous plan. Significant time and effort has gone in to a couple items that I want to just bullet out. Our vision statement describing the urban hometown, sub-area plan and guiding principles for the area surrounding the intersection of 66th Street and Nicollet Avenue, the hub, a new parks master plan, bringing pedestrian, bicycle, and transit elements to the forefront of the transportation chapter in order to further emphasize their priority in system planning, inclusion of the city's racial history and commitment to racial equity, discussion of tools and challenges to address the improvement and protection of the city's naturally occurring affordable housing, incorporating the work of the Housing Visionary Task Force, and simplification of land use categories, including adjustments of density and ranges to reflect existing land use patterns that the city wishes to promote and continue. As is the case in most discussions, there is a divide in the opinion of the public in regard to the future of Richfield. There are some residents who would prefer that Richfield revert to being a bedroom community as it was historically developed. We also spoke with many residents who love Richfield as it is and see no need to change anything further. Finally, there are those who see recent commercial, housing, and transportation changes as only the beginning of a renaissance here in Richfield. Things will continue to change in and around Richfield. Things will change in and around the city And the city as a bedroom community is not a sustainable economic model. Commercial and multifamily development is necessary to help pay for the continued infrastructure costs of the city and to accommodate growth in the region. Climate change, increased and diverse populations, technological innovations, just name a few, will continue to influence and change the decisions that people make regarding where to live and work and how they get to those places. So the goal of the comprehensive plan is to prepare as much as we can for these changes and to manage this change in a way that can make them an asset to the community. A public hearing was held before the Planning Commission on October 22nd, 2018. As a result of the public testimony and discussion, the plan has been revised to include statistical information related to the city's disabled population and to revise the maximum allowed density in the 66th and Lindale Avenue area. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the plan. Consultant Lance Bernard of HKGI will present a short overview of the planning process and the proposed plan. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Bernard.
Well, thank you, council members. As Councilmember Howard mentioned, my name is Lance Bernard. I'm the project manager with HKGI. I've had the pleasure of working with you folks and others over the last couple of years, and it's been an exciting process, and wanted to really just take a moment tonight to really capture some of the high points of our process and some of the key changes throughout the plan. And then staff is also then looking for an adoption of a resolution of the comprehensive plan to officially submit it to the Metropolitan Council. As Councilmember Howard mentioned earlier, this is a process that is required by state statute. It's something that every community is going through and goes through every 10 years with the updates due here at the end of the year. The plan is primarily informed and guided through a number of the policy documents that the region has established, but we really do tailor this plan to really fit the needs of the community. So we really wanted to have a clear understanding of what the community vision is from residents and stakeholders. So we had a very extensive public process where we went through various means to gather input, whether it's online, meeting with people, popping up in the community, open houses, and so forth. But more importantly, we certainly helped. This process was helped guided by an advisory committee of 15 members that was appointed. A few of you, Councilmember Gonzalez and Howard, who served on the committee as well, can add to that process later if you would like. But it really did serve as a sounding board to really kind of test the water on some ideas and to verify public feedback throughout this process. All of that work really has been quite extensive. Certainly this presentation isn't going to do justice for all of the work that has gone into this and the commitment by staff and the advisory committee in helping inform the update, but wanted to highlight a couple of the key areas of the chapters that we focused some of the updates on, and just want to walk through those here briefly. As mentioned by Councilmember Howard, there's certainly different viewpoints that were captured throughout this process, certain input that we wanted to document to really understand some of the key themes about how the city is growing and evolving over time, how the viewpoints stand in respect to housing, development, transportation modes, and then really trying to capture a lot of the valued characteristics and valued amenities throughout the city. So we've documented that quite extensively throughout this chapter, but really have used that information to help inform us in some of the other updates throughout the plan. One of the kind of bigger undertakings was to also understand what redevelopment might look like over the next 10, 15, 20 years. So a market analysis that was prepared primarily looking at the intersection of Nicollet and 66th Street to start to paint a visual, more of an illustrative idea of what the hub area could look like over time, but then set the stage with some guiding principles of how to inform redevelopment if and when that occurs over time. So that's one of the bigger highlights in the comprehensive plan. Part of the input process, as I mentioned, we want to capture all of the valued characteristics and amenities. And I hope this vision statement that we created captures the sentiments that Councilmember Garcia expressed earlier tonight about just the cohesiveness in the neighborhood and how this really feels like an urban hometown. So quite a bit of work in the advisory committee in crafting this message to really put a little bit more of a definition behind what an urban hometown means to this community. One of the bigger updates, we really do focus on land use and housing. I think people gravitate towards those sections for the most part when looking at the comprehensive plan. Overall, there really wasn't that many significant changes to the land use plan itself. There was more consolidation of the land use categories and trying to provide a little bit more clarity around some of the office and commercial categories. Staff does have a map that does indicate where some of those changes have occurred from a land use category standpoint, but again, fairly minor changes throughout the entire city. One of the areas that we did need to look at this round as part of the requirements was putting on density ranges and density caps at the end ranges of each of the land use categories. So that was one recommendation that Planning Commission had, was for us to look at more of the high density mixed use caps, now setting that at 125 units per acre. So that was a recommendation by the Planning Commission that has been made as part of this update as well. And then overall, the land use housing chapters start to document how the city will evolve and redevelopment over time, and specifically looking at some of the housing goals and the affordable housing goals that are set by the Metropolitan Council. So a lot more information kind of documenting the numbers behind some of those affordable housing goals and land use assumptions for redevelopment. The transportation chapter, we recognize that a lot of work has been done in the previous years, focusing more on a bike ped plan, so those have been integrated into the plan, but we've really kind of started to switch the paradigm where we really want to recognize those other modes first in the comprehensive plan, recognizing the importance of mobility for pedestrians, bicyclists, encouraging transit use, and then focusing much more on the automobile. So you'll see a lot of that past work that has come across this council in the last year with the bike ped master plans being incorporated into this conference. And then from the parks chapter, we did spend more time providing an updated master plan. The master plan really takes a look at 10 years of what some of the investments might need to occur to help address emerging trends and just maintaining the parks in kind of that state of good repair and continuing to meet residents' needs in these parks. So the master plan lays out recommendations for every single park throughout the community. It also provides some planning level cost estimates to help guide future capital improvement investments over the next 10 years. Some of the specific recommendations that the master plan looked at were opportunities to increase dog parks, to offer more soccer fields, investments in the Wood Lake Nature Center, and then again, just really preserving what you have in the parks today. I want to just kind of close out and recognize that this plan is a living document. It's a plan that's actively used in the community, which is great, and kind of a testament to that is the number of amendments and revisions that have occurred since the last plan, about 10 amendments since 2008. So that really just, again, demonstrates how this is a tool that staff and policymakers use on a regular basis. So there will be much more, I'm sure, that needs to be addressed and discussed moving forward as part of the comprehensive plan. Some of the topics that we recognize that will probably continue to be talked about, but weren't necessarily addressed specifically in this plan, is just some of the redevelopment opportunities in more detail along some of the major transportation corridors, such as 494, continuing to look at 66th Street and Nicollet and Penn Avenue, and then just some of these kind of bigger unknowns in respect to climate change, new technology, things that will continue to hopefully be monitored and addressed accordingly throughout this plan. So with that, I just want to end there. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for all your work on this over a long process. And I want to thank Melissa Pillman for guiding a lot of this work as well in terms of the task force and getting public input. Is there anything you'd add as well with the comp plan before us?
No, I do have a map if you're interested. It did come up today that I provided in your packet, a map of the 2030 plan and a map of the proposed 2040 plan. I have a map here for you if you'd like to see just how few actual parcels are changing. Just highlighting that this really is a refinement of policies as opposed to large land use policy changes. So I'll pass that out to you now.
That is helpful.
Melissa, is that this? Thank you.
Noting that there are a few, are there any that you would call attention to as for folks? And I know that we've done outreach to folks that are in some of these specific areas, but anything of note here? And as we can see, it's
Right, Councilmember Howard. I would say that the vast majority of these are changes that reflect the fact that we've simplified categories. I'm getting rid of the distinction between a medium and a medium-high density category, eliminating office category and just incorporating that into our commercial categories, and also aligning current land uses that are very unlikely to change. For instance, existing multifamily buildings that were guided for single family, that's very unlikely to ever happen. We've aligned those districts. The two policy changes in terms of land use would be the block adjacent to the Chamberlain development on 17th Avenue, that 6700 block. We talked about that when the Chamberlain project was coming through, the idea that maybe an additional block of transition of a medium density housing would be needed. That's reflected in this plan. And then also just north of there on 16th Avenue, there are a couple of parcels north of Mount Calvary Church. Those were previously guided for regional commercial use. Regional commercial generally reflects something bigger, a Target, a Menards, something like that. Those parcels really couldn't handle something of that size. They've been re-guided for medium density housing, which is consistent with uses in that area.
Thank you. I'll just make a few comments. One, for anyone that wants to take a deep dive in terms of, for Richfield, where we've been and where we're going, I really would encourage you to go and review the comp plan. You know, it's not a quick read. I mean, it's extensive, but so well done, and so I think grounding in, like I said, where we've been and where we want to go as a community. And I specifically wanted to call out the vision statement, and it was on the PowerPoint, but I just want to read it because to me it really does a great job of talking about Richfield and who we are and what we need to keep in mind as we move forward. And that is that the urban hometown is a community that reflects the characteristics of living in a close-knit community while surrounded by the amenities and resources of a broader metropolitan area. The urban hometown feeling is rooted in the personal connections cultivated within our neighborhoods, parks, schools, and streets. These connections are reinforced by quality housing, local commercial centers, recreational opportunities, and the cultural diversity found within our city. Our proximity to the Twin Cities only serves to expand the opportunities available to our residents, providing the best of both small-town living and urban life. Our goal is to embrace these characteristics and take steps to maintain and enhance the culture and community that makes us an urban hometown. I just think I thank the work in the community that helped lead us towards that vision statement. I think it really helps us take that next step forward of where we want to go in the community. And with that, I would turn it over to any other comments from other members.
I would just thank everybody, and I mean everybody that participated and worked on this for how many months was on it, and they came up with a wonderful product. So I think it's a great vision for the city.
I'd like to just say thank you as well to the staff and the community members who contributed to commenting on the comprehensive plan. And I'd say, you know, this is a very exciting time for the community of Richfield. There's a lot of change and transformation happening, which is exciting, and it's also extremely difficult and can be very scary. And the comprehensive plan, again, as Councilmember Howard said, is really the vision and the guide that's going to help move us forward. And our role is to work with other council members, with staff, with our residents to figure out what does that change look like moving forward and how can we do it together. So that is what lies ahead of us, and tonight was an example of that, and that's kind of the task for the community of Richfield, is how do we welcome change? What does it look like? Do we push it away? Do we just take it as it is, or do we work together across the different communities here in our city and figure out, is there a way that we can incorporate change because it is here in a way that keeps the fabric of our community, that builds community and builds upon the assets that we have here in the city, and the comprehensive plan is the foundation for that. So thank you very much.
Then I will move to adopt a resolution approving a submittal of the Richfield 2040 Comprehensive Plan to the Metropolitan Council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comp plan passes. Next item on the agenda is item 11, which has been on and off and then on again and off again. And I think my last iteration, it was off, with a caveat that Councilmember Troutman has a couple things to put on the record.
Oh, I don't even know that's a couple things. I think we understood that our staff has explained they can't, it's not incumbent on us to change the bylaws of the tourism board, but the tourism board will be changing their own bylaws. And then while there's a suggestion for staff to make appointment or recommendations that the council would approve.
Excuse me, can I just back us up and for the public, because I feel like the public's maybe confused right now. What number is before us? What
Item
currently?
11 is been withdrawn.
Okay.
Subject to, there was some discussions earlier this evening, and Councilmember Troutman is just making a record of what his understanding was of those discussions.
Okay.
In just for everybody's benefit, the tourism board operates to promote tourism in Richfield, and there's staff is helping us add additional board members, and council may have an opportunity to speak into that, similar to how we speak into other boards and organizations that we appoint. But that's something that staff is going to work on over the next couple of weeks. Is that correct? And so with that, Mayor, I would move that we withdraw item number 11.
Okay, item 11 is withdrawn.
Or do we need to second it?
Oh, second. Well, it was never on.
Oh.
Bit confusing. Councilmember Garcia has item number 12.
Thank you. This is consideration of the approval of a contract with Stonebrook Engineering Incorporated for design engineering on the 65th Street reconstruction project between Grand Avenue and Nicollet Avenue, not to exceed $348,646, and adoption of a resolution for reimbursement of certain expenditures from the proceeds of street reconstruction bonds to be issued by the city for the 65th Street reconstruction project. And being that we have our director, Kristen Asher, here, why don't I do myself and everybody else a favor and have her and have her finish up just a brief description here.
Sure, thank you. I'd be happy to. Mayor and council members, the 65th Street project is in the comp plan. It's in our CIP. It's consistent with council direction. There's a change to it. It was included in the 5-year street reconstruction plan that was approved earlier this year. But instead of going all the way around the post office where Ray Drive meets 66th Street, we've shortened it to the Grand Avenue to Nicollet. And that being said, the reason we did that is because we're trying to not, we think we can make it another year and to bond another year. We're just kind of trying to relax a little bit where we can on the funding and the financing for the city. So trying to keep that in mind, but we know that the hub is looking to do something, and so we've met with them, and 2020 is when they would like to, that's what we've been told, is that 2020 is a good year for us to reconstruct this road. When we do this, we'll be able to release an easement across their property because we're going to rebuild all the utilities under the road. Right now, they cut across their property where the old road used to be. So that's the impetus to keep this piece of 65th Street moving. Other than that, I mean, it's just a scope of work for a consultant who's in our consultant pool, who we have not yet worked with Stonebrook Engineering, so we're kind of looking forward to working with somebody new. And we would start the public involvement process in early December. We'd have our first meeting because we're kind of on a fast track if we're going to get this done by 2020.
Oh, okay. There's any comments?
I just had a question. So is that 2020 timeline? Can you give us any insight into your conversations with the owners of the hub and their timeline of when they thought they would? Because I know they're thinking in phases. Is there anything you can share with us and the public?
I don't personally know. I know they're talking about phasing. I don't know if John has a better answer for you, but they were happy to hear they could move their utilities.
Councilmember Troutman and city council members. So we have had continuing discussions with the owners of the hub, Brixmor. It's still tentative on their part. They're a publicly traded company, and they have to convince their board and their shareholders that this is the right thing to do. Having said that, the management folks at Brixmor do seem to place a high priority on the redevelopment of the hub. There are some challenges, one of which is that they have a few long-standing leases that they'll either have to buy around or work around. And they're working through that process right now. I imagine it would be a two-phase project, with the western half of the hub happening first and the eastern half probably trailing by as many as 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
They would like to come back next spring to engage the community in some deeper conversations.
Great. And next spring, this is 2019 spring or 2020?
2019 spring.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, this is great to finally have this before us. And thank you very much, Director, for all the work that your team has done. Appreciate that. So by motion, I am going to move that we approve a contract with Stonebrook Engineering for designing engineering of the 65th Street reconstruction project between Grand Avenue and Nicollet Avenue, not to exceed $348,646, and adopt a resolution for reimbursement of certain expenditures from the proceeds of street reconstruction bonds to be issued by the city for the 65th Street reconstruction project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So passed. Mayor-elect Reagan Gonzalez gets to move number 13.
The next item for consideration is the adoption of a resolution determining the results of the city general election on Tuesday, November 6, 2018. The city general election was conducted on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, in conjunction with the state general election. The city general election included contests for the offices of mayor and city council member at large. The unofficial results of the election are attached, and any relevant updates will be provided at the city council meeting. The Richfield City Charter states that the city shall meet and canvass the election returns at the next regular or special city council meeting immediately following any regular primary or special election, but in no event later than the time prescribed by state law, and must make full declaration of the results as soon as possible and file a statement thereof with the city clerk. So I'll just read the results attached.
Mayor-elect Reagan Gonzalez, could I have council member-elect Mary Supple to come up here and stand over here just so that we read the results, because we got 3 beautiful winners. Come on behind here, Mary.
Solution. our next city council member at large, Mary Seppel. So I'm just going to read the short, there's a little brief description of the results. Votes cast for mayor, Maria Regan Gonzalez, 12,695 votes. It's a 4-year term. Write-in, 494 votes. Votes cast for council member at large, Mary Seppel, 9,831 votes. Taylor Crescent Haig, 3,604 votes. Write-in, 185 votes. The total number of Richfield voters in the election was 16,955, which was about close to 77% of our residents. So good voter turnout. And I will make the motion to approve the resolution determining the results of the city general election on Tuesday, November 6, 2018.
Before I, oops. Well, I wanted to add, I know that this is just for the city, but I think the fact that the council member Howard won, I mean, this was really, I mean, you know, here we are, all of us together, alone for the first time. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I just really am very lucky, I think, that we elected 3 capable people that are going to see us through the next few years, that are really dedicated. I mean, these are people that you know are credible because you know their involvement in the community. You know their involvement in city commissions. You know their involvement in and around agencies and organizations. These are folks that have really earned their way, and they've worked very, very, very hard. I think they talked issues, and I think people were glad because these folks started door knocking right away, and they door knocked and door knocked and door knocked. And Council Member Howard, his hair was turning blonde from all the sunshine. But I want to congratulate the 3 of them, and I look forward to working with you, and of course the whole council does.
Yeah.
And we congratulate you, and we honor you for your victory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor-elect Gonzalez, may I just say something brief? I know we all want brief comments at this point, but I just want to say congratulations to my colleague, Mike Howard. I'm just really happy. I'm really proud for you. I'm really proud of the campaign that you ran, and for our mayor-elect Reagan Gonzalez, even though you didn't have an opponent, you campaigned, and not just campaigned, you campaigned listening and reaching out to folks. And there was just no sense of resting on your laurels. There was a sense of this is an opportunity to connect and listen and hear from people. And I admire that and really appreciate the diligence and the work ethic and the openness that you conducted your campaign with. And enjoy working with Mary Seppel on the commission. We're really excited to have you up here in a few weeks.
Resolution has been moved and seconded. I'd call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution passes. City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The only thing I would bring up is that City Council should probably talk about whether or not you're going to look at canceling the second meeting in December. City Council typically does that, doesn't have that second meeting in December. But of course, it's always the council's option as to whether or not you want to have it or not. But if you're not going to have
Call
it,
the question regarding whether or not we want to cancel the second.
Sounds like a great idea, Mayor.
I will say I'm a little reticent just because I've only got a few of these left, so to cancel any of them.
I'll leave the light on.
Leave the light on Christmas morning or Christmas evening? All right.
Yeah, don't be late.
Okay.
And turn it off when you leave.
All right.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Claims and payrolls.
I will move that, Mayor. Claims and payroll.
I would second it. All in favor?
Aye.
There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.